Today is January the 21st. Why did some people hate Jesus? Let's find out together as we study the early chapters of the Gospels. Today, as we continue to read through the ministry of Jesus, I'd like you to read John chapter 4, Mark 1:35 to 3:6, and Luke 4:42 to 6:11. Yesterday we saw that the book of John is slightly different from Matthew, Mark, and Luke, the synoptic gospels. Starting in John chapter 4, we see that Jesus, leaving in the first year, his first visit during his ministry to the Passover in Jerusalem, he came back through Samaria. And we have an exchange of Jesus with Samaritans. First, the woman at the well, and then he spent 3 days in Samaria, ministering to all of the Samaritans. I wonder if this isn't a precursor to what happens in Acts chapter 11 when Philip moves to Samaria and ministers. Could be. Going back then to the book of Mark, Mark chapter 1, starting in verse 35, we see that Jesus begins his ministry in Galilee, and he heals a man with leprosy. Then in chapter 2, he goes into Capernaum and heals a man who's paralyzed. When he heals that man, we begin to see opposition to Jesus creeping up. There were some teachers of the law. When Jesus kneels down and talks to the man, he says, instead of saying, I heal you, he says, I forgive your sins. Then he heals the man. Now, Mark makes a point of saying that some of the religious leaders who were present said, that ain't right. Who can heal sins but God? Who can forgive sins but God alone? That opposition continues. In the next paragraph, Jesus continues the activities that he was involved in before. Remember, teaching, healing, and calling disciples. Well, now he calls Matthew to follow him. And again, some of the religious leaders see Jesus eating in Matthew's house and said, that man's a sinner. Why would Jesus eat with him? When Jesus heard this, he told them, healthy people don't need a doctor, sick people do. I've come to call not those who think they're righteous, but those who know they're sinners. In the next paragraph, Jesus and his disciples are called out by the religious leaders. Why don't you fast? Jesus responds. And then finally on a Sabbath day, Jesus and his disciples are walking by a field. The disciples grab a head of wheat. They blow the chaff off of the wheat and pop some of those kernels of wheat into their mouth. The religious leaders say, your disciples harvested on the Sabbath. That is sinful. Then finally, Jesus comes into a synagogue. He begins to teach. The religious leaders bring a man with a deformed hand, a hand that is paralyzed and cramped. Jesus tells the man, hold out your hand, and he heals him. Some people begin to hate Jesus. Now, why? We see here in this passage 4 reasons why they began to hate Jesus. First of all, Jesus called them out. In the paragraph that Jesus healed the paralyzed man, he calls them out. He says, I didn't come to heal those who think they're righteous. I came for those who know they're sinners. He's calling them out there. Secondly, he doesn't live up to their expectations. They would not have expected Jesus to spend 4 days ministering to Samaritans. They would not have expected Jesus to go and eat with sinners. Thirdly, he broke their traditions. He and his disciples ate wheat on the Sabbath. They said, oh, our traditions say that's harvesting. That's not harvesting. That's meeting a need that is provided for in the book of Leviticus. And fourthly, he let them see that he was actually angry with them. When they brought the man with the deformed hand before Jesus, chapter 3, verse 5 says, he looked around at them angrily and he was saddened by their hard hearts. They were more interested in their theological position and proving Jesus wrong than they were interested in the man with the deformed hand. Jesus healed that man. He let them see their anger. In Mark chapter 3, verse 6, at once the Pharisees went away and met with the supporters of Herod to plot how to kill Jesus. Mark is very, very careful to say that the Pharisees met with the followers of Herod. These were 2 groups that hated each other, but you can always agree on who to hate, and they hated Jesus. What about you today? How do you live your life? Breaking traditions? That's okay, as long as you are following God. Please like, follow, and subscribe to this devotional on whatever platform you used to listen to it. We'll see you in church on Sunday.